Any additions or deletions to the agenda? I just have one quick one, doctor update. That'd be H3. Anything else? None. Can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Seconder? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So we have a delegation here tonight, and we've invited, not only we have this committee at home, we have council here, but we also have a member of the water commission over here, who are that property is located within our watershed area, so they have an interest in what may or may not happen there. So
yeah.
So you fellas have the floor. We put you up first so that you can get out on the road quickly.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so we've been, my name is Joe Fitzharris. I'm the president of Scotiaway Energy. And this is
Paul Thompson. I'm CEO of Meridian DLT in Bedford.
And we've created a partnership between the two companies to create green data centers. We've been in conversations with the municipality of Digby about taking over ownership of their wind turbine, which is situated on your land. And we're looking at, the requirements and just making sure that we're on side with all the regulatory approvals and all that stuff. It's a pretty unique model because we're using renewable energy, which a lot of the big centers and stuff now are, they're using fossil fuels, and we have ultra efficient servers. So not only are we using green data, but we're using a lot less energy to power the servers. So, like I said, we're looking at taking over ownership of the turbine. The original plan, or the plan that we would like to put forward, is to put the data centers right at the site. Now, you have to keep in mind, for the amount of energy that turbine can produce, what we would be looking at is something roughly about the size of 5 40-foot containers. That would be the full data center. We're not talking a big 4 or 5 story, brick composite building here. Roughly what we'd be able to do is put it right on the existing concrete pad that's there now. So we wouldn't be disturbing any of the existing, we wouldn't have to go and do a lot of clear cutting or anything like that, or anything that could impact the watershed area. We did send down a proposal or an overview. I don't know if all of you guys had seen this or not. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So really, that lays out the concept at a high level. The energy side of it, with the new regulations that have come in play with the new net metering requirements, we don't necessarily have to install the data center, because within the distribution zone, we can have the data center somewhere else outside of the distribution zone. So we don't necessarily have to put it there if that's a concern for the watershed or for the town. Mm-hmm. And Paul, did you want to go into a little bit about the data centers? And
yeah, sure. So Meridian is a climate technology firm, and we've sort of built a private data network that's used globally. It's powered entirely by renewable energy and other renewable energy projects up in Labrador. We're connected to their hydro there, solar projects here in Nova Scotia, and we actually build our own servers. So I think when you think of data centers and servers, you think of these kind of giant IBM servers all in big racks and in a huge building in a large facility. We actually custom build our own servers. They're highly efficient. The average server, not even the high-tech servers, but the average server uses about 1,200 watts of power. Our servers use 25 watts, which is significantly less. We are building our second generation of servers, which now use 6 watts of power to get the same data services that the 1,200 watt ones do. So very, very low power use. So our thought is we're expanding into building green data centers now with our own servers. We don't require huge facilities because of the size and the power usage. And rather than go to external renewable energy projects. We'd rather, if possible, have our own energy powering our own servers. And that's where the wind turbine comes in. I could show you, I did bring down one of our sample servers just for a visual so that you could see the size of them compared to maybe what you think of the IBM ones are huge. And you'll be interested to know, this is just the sample server, but the top of our actual servers is actually made with a 3D printer using renewable plastics. So we try to make every component renewable as well. So
What's the storage capacity of that one year?
so we're in terabytes.
That's what
So really, I guess if you can provide the data services with 24 megawatts of power, say ours is less than a megawatt for the same data services. So it's pretty significantly less. Yeah. Yeah, it's very easy. It's actually, we literally will ship this to, say, the hydro project in Labrador, and it's plug-in. We don't need a technician up there. They just plug it in. We have someone monitoring them up there, but so there will likely be at least one person that would need to be here to look at them, but it's really a plug and play. So it's really, really interesting. Yeah.
It's the site now is, I don't think we even have fiber out there yet, do we?
Well, the Mountain Close, I don't think so. I'm on my road.
I don't remember what there is some connection there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they would have to have something for the wind turbine, right? For the
It's
motor.
like, there's cable there.
Yeah.
There's dial-up, you know, people still dial-up.
No, we can actually use it as long as there's any connection. We can use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could also go cellular, right? Cellular wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. So I guess if you can imagine, our data centers are very small compared to big bricks and mortar data centers that are required. So we need when we need 500 servers, they need 10,000. So it's a pretty significant difference.
Yeah, and I guess the other part of this is, we've been talking, I've personally been working with Terry Thibodeau from Digby for a while, to just looking at various renewable energy projects and stuff like that. I've actually been down. I did a presentation for the council, or not for the council, for the Chamber of Commerce, and I was down at one of the energy symposiums that Terry put together. And we're very community minded. So, I know there was some with Tom. I think there was something in the presentation I said, or the overview I sent you about, a build out of solar and that kind of stuff. But that was more just, if there's a desire for you guys to look at other energy projects, we'd be more than happy to be partners with you guys, industry partners with you to help you move that type of stuff forward. It's kind of one of our philosophies as far as the building out, the business and how we can kind of help the local communities with other renewable energy projects, because we've got a lot of expertise in it, and we have access to equipment. We have our own solar company. We're very familiar with wind. We're involved in the wind industry, and we're starting to look a little bit at hydrogen now too. So.
Yeah, so I have some questions, but maybe council has some questions too. And Tom could correct me a little bit on some things I'll get wrong here, but there's a lease with the district for a windmill, power generation.
Yep.
I don't know if that lease is broad enough. The lease would become nil and void, I guess, if they do sell it. From my perspective, it's a windmill, potentially a commercial development in the district on town land, so we don't see any tax base from it. So that's an issue.
Yeah.
But that's our issue, not your issue.
Well, and
Yeah.
like I've been involved in some of the, like a 40 megawatt wind project, and there's a community liaison fund. So we would look at setting something up like that with you guys, so that you did get some benefit from it.
And the other things, I was wondering how big of a development it is, because it is in the watershed area, and it is in a recreational area. There's trails that have been developed and being developed, so I would want to see that flavor change a little bit out there.
Yeah,
around the trails. Now, if you're saying how many trails?
basically 5 40-foot containers.
Yeah, so it's up by the windmill, there's lots of.
Yeah.
Lots of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but those are some things that cross my mind about it.
It's one of the great benefits of being able to build servers this size is we don't have a large footprint, physical footprint. So it allows us to move into areas like this very, very easily.
So would it, you say it doesn't need to be put there, I'm not saying it should be put there, maybe.
Yeah.
But we also have, lack of a better word now, industrial park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, so we could very easily put it in the industrial park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, yeah.
Yep.
But those are about the only thing I have. Others anybody have anything to say? Now, what do you see the benefit to the town now that we encourage green energy development? In other words, financial benefit to the town directly. That's not in town.
Yeah, and that's why I say we'd come up with we'd come up with a community liaison fund. And we'll figure out what that is, and what maybe we'll have some further discussions about that, of what the actual amount is. But the financials of these types of projects we're not close to the bone. It's not like we're putting in a solar development and we've got to irk every cent out of it. There's enough revenue being generated by this project that it could be, we could give you something that would have an impact, right?
Yeah.
Of course, the lease would have to be renegotiated.
Yeah, we're not looking for any cuts on lease or taxes or anything like that. Whatever the cost is, we'll pay that. That's no problem. We're not coming in and saying, hey, we want you to give us a tax break. We don't want to do that. We're going to come in and be part of the community, and we'll pay our fair share as far as that stuff goes. Right.
That goes to the district.
Yeah, I know. So
unless we get some free server space.
yeah, that could be. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely on the table for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's green data servers.
Well, that's why I said.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your plans going forward with what's there? Would you increase potential of what's there, or change the maintenance and what's inside of it? Or
The project economics work with the current setup that Digby has, using the turbine manufacturer to do the maintenance. What we want to do is we don't just want to do this here. We want to take some of these kind of what I would call stranded assets that aren't really generating a whole lot of revenue, and partner on those in other areas, so that we can put some benefit back in to the communities. So we would look at this as more of a build out into other areas that are maybe in a similar situation to Digby. So.
I'm not 100%, but I think the district has a challenge now with the change in their agreement with NS Power to make that windmill profitable for them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. And we had conversations with Barrington. I don't think that's anything proprietary. We haven't come to any sort of an arrangement or anything, but they have a 50 kilowatt there. We're potentially looking at what we can do with them with that one also. And just like we could build this out, right? We could add some solar in there, or potentially another wind turbine. Solar is easier, just the regulatory process and everything, but we don't need to.
Yeah.
With the amount of energy that comes out of that turbine, this is going to produce a lot of data that because of because of how efficient it is. So.
Yeah, we don't have to grow it at all from that number
Yeah.
of containers at all. We'll have more than enough energy. Yeah.
You do international, is this international, national?
Yeah, so our clients are international. Yep, that'll be using this. Being Nova Scotian, I want to keep as many of these data centers in the province as possible. I'd rather build them here first than anywhere else. We've had offers to go to other locations and countries, but I'd prefer to keep it here. Yeah.
There's one in DeBert, is there not?
There is a big data center there, yeah. Not green. I think I've been in that one, is it?
Even Baker's Pump.
Right, in the bunker. I've been in the bunker. Yes, that's right. Yeah, definitely not green, but yeah, it's pretty interesting facility there. Yeah.
Anybody else got any questions or comments?
Would these just be regular containers? Just as we live in a part of the world that's pretty susceptible to lots of wind and you're on top of the mountain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, there's and again, we want to use somebody here in Nova Scotia as opposed to someone in a different province or country. There are companies that build custom containers just for this purpose, for data center type thing projects. Not quite what we're doing, but there is one in Nova Scotia that's working on it, and they're our preferred supplier because they're local, obviously, and we can go visit them and they can tweak things the way we want. Obviously, with servers this size versus this size, we don't require as much cooling and heating and all of that, so it makes a huge difference. But again, we want to use the local company for everything.
So that they get strapped in too.
Yeah, yeah.
About security, you're out in the woods.
Yeah, security is a huge part of this. Yeah, so the security of the servers alone is covered by us in many different ways. So we're good on that side. The security of the containers will be a top priority for sure. Yeah.
Anybody got any questions? No, I think it's new to us in this region, Tom. Yeah.
So, the two windmills up there, one that you're interested in, the other one, so.
Yeah.
You're only gonna buy the one, is that?
Yeah, Terry won't give up the other one. He's actually he's making,
We may need.
well, that's fine. That turbine, we've actually sized a turbine 50 kilowatt. I think it's 50 kilowatt, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so we've sized one that size, and that would basically be what we would call one unit, which would be basically a 20-foot container. You know, with that, based on the capacity of it, the one that we're looking at now, the 50 kilowatt, it doesn't have quite enough capacity, so we're looking at putting in like a 30 kilowatt solar field beside it, and that would give us enough to run that 20-foot cube data center.
What about multiple points of entry and exit for your data? I attended the session not too long, and I think it's Stratford, Ontario, where RBC and some others set up their large data centers because they had a number of ways to get out of them. If there was a disaster with one line, they had another line to get out.
Yeah,
Your options were limited there.
yeah. In terms of the actual physical facility.
Well, now just getting your data in and out of people storing their data or sending it out.
And
Oh.
yeah, I mean,
You
you're
have one
Yeah.
provider of internet out there or Wi-Fi or.
Oh, I
cell
see.
service.
Yeah.
You have to be car because there is the cell service when you're walking the trail.
Right, yeah. No, there is a means that we can shift. So if so I think if you mean like if that data center goes down, what can,
Yeah,
or does it go down and what can, yeah,
Power goes off, trees.
power goes off. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, we have that built into our process so that if even one server goes down, other ones are covering it. If one whole site goes down, we've still got it covered. Yeah.
There's a chap not far from where that is, uses Starlink to monitor 50,000 UPS servers during the night.
Right, yeah,
So,
yes. Yeah, Starlink's pretty incredible. Yeah, we've actually had meetings with them. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, got it at my college.
Yeah.
Other comments or thoughts? Council Tom would be discussing lease options and probably come back to us in the water commission.
Yeah, yeah, and if there's any concerns environmental, just let us know. You know, like I've been involved in other types of renewable projects and have dealt with the kind of environmental side of it. And, you know, we can engage a consultant to kind of go through any of that stuff. And we'd rather do that stuff up front if we need to and get it sorted out to make sure we've got no issues.
Yeah, the environmental side is critical for us. We're a climate tech company. We have a zero carbon footprint as a company. Everything that we do is to have a positive impact on the environment. So if there are any issues, we'd love to address them right up front. Yeah,
Well, that would be a concern of ours, but also what's the financial benefit to the community?
right, of course. Yeah, yeah,
It's right there too. So-
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Does it generate any income?
Yeah, that's what's something that we're really hoping is that we'll be able to have at least a person here to monitor the data center. But we also, because the company is based in Nova Scotia, our containers are being built in Nova Scotia. We hope for Nova Scotian renewable energy projects to power our data centers. We would really like to be able to work potentially with community colleges to start training technicians that can help us as we grow and build out. So we're really mindful of that, and potentially also having sponsorships and scholarships of some of those students to go and learn to look after what we're doing. So yeah.
I've in the past had meetings in the community center and they've always told me they can be quick to react to new things coming along.
They can. They're pretty incredible. Yeah. All of our developers, the people who developed this server and all the IP around it, are all here in Nova Scotia as well. So
The containers, are they being built by this local supplier from scratch?
yeah, pretty much from scratch.
Not buying old containers?
It's a refurbished containers. Yeah, we prefer to reuse if we can rather than have, because there's a carbon footprint behind building a new one. And yeah. So yeah,
But if we were gonna go with new ones, there's CTS Containers in Dartmouth.
yeah,
We would have them build it for us.
yeah.
They built containers from
How
scratch.
they build containers?
Yeah, yeah. And I
Where they came from.
yeah, that's
Any
right.
ones
Yeah,
that say CTS on
yeah,
the side of them, they usually have their logo on them. They're built in Dartmouth.
yeah. In Burnside there.
Okay, no other comments or questions?
Any specific or any other partnerships you've got ongoing right now that are similar to what you're looking for here?
We have some other partnerships,
Mhm.
our company, Scotiaway Energy, we have some other partnerships, not necessarily similar to this. We're developing a partnership right now with a company that does air to water heat pump systems, mostly commercial, very energy efficient, and we're looking to be their Nova Scotia arm. For older buildings, even new buildings, right? And then we've got some other partnerships with like a national electrical mechanical company that's on the solar energy side. So to work with them to take our products and our practices across the country. So, yeah.
Okay. We'll get you on your road.
All right. Yeah. So.
Yep, heading back tonight. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
So
And all the questions. Thank you.
as the council discusses, the water commission discusses, Tom will be.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
getting in touch. When do you hope to be up and running with the data center?
We're not really sure of all the hurdles we'll have to go through. Like there's always some stuff where, it may take a little longer. What we'd like to be is, maybe by the end of Q2 2023 is to be actually producing data.
Well, that gives us an idea how much pressure's on us.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Great.
Great.
And if there's any other questions you guys have, feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, and get it through to Tom or something.
Okay, great. Thank you all so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Drive carefully.
Thank you very much. We'll take it slow.
Hey, Charles, thank you for coming.
I just missed, eh?
You're dismissed, yeah. Yeah. It's nice to say to the former mayor, get out. Yeah. Yeah, okay, well, minutes of the previous meeting, November the 21st. Everybody's had a chance to review those? Any noted errors or omissions? If none, can we have a motion to approve? Second? All, did someone second it? Yeah. All those in favor say aye. Any nays? I said this is like Christmas Eve, so we don't want to spend all night here. Actually, that came from somebody else. Okay, no unfinished business. Yeah, CEO's report.
Okay. So, in planning, there was one development permit issued in November and we had one final subdivision approval. Maiden Lane for Mr. Turnbull.
Is that Maple Leaf Lane?
Maple Leaf Lane. Building department, there were two, building permits issued. And, 105 Second Avenue, construction of a duplex, and 54 Warwick Street, for renovation of the apartment building, which is basically replacing the roof, putting a pitched roof on that building. Fire inspections, there were no fire inspections conducted in November. There have been some follow-ups, at least one follow-up, so there'll be a report. Follow-up in December. Fire department, there were 8 calls and it's split right down the middle, 4 for town and 4 for the district. Marketing levy, so we sent out 11 information packages to the roofed accommodations in town. The package included the registration form and remittance forms. We have received 4 completed registration forms already. That was at the time I wrote this report. We may have more than that now, sure. However, the deadline isn't until January the 9th or that. So there has been some questions whether HST is to be collected on a room levy. So the answer is yes. However, the HST is to be remitted to CRA as part of their remittance, and only the levy will be remitted to the town.
That's if they're registered.
And that's also if they are registered, HST registrants, then they can collect it. If they're not, then they don't have to collect it. That's what we don't want to get involved in, whether they're collecting under them. That's going to be between them and CRA. So the next step is for the establishment of the marketing and promotions levy advisory committee, and by the town and the district as a standing committee. So I've drafted the terms of reference and is placed on the agenda under new business for consideration. Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, for the town's application to the ICRT for the Mount Street project has been approved on the condition that the town agrees to ensure Aboriginal consultation obligations as per section 19 of the agreement have been met. Project approval is November 17th. That's the approval date. The project end date is March 31st, 2025. The total estimated cost of this project is $2,340,000, with $1,716,000 being funded from the federal and provincial governments, and $624,000 being funded by the town of Digby and the Digby Water Commission. Town approximately 70% and the Water Commission 30%. Tri-County Regional Planning Initiative. So the was a Microsoft Teams elected official engagement session. And, so the consult was held on December 15th. Consultants group presented to the elected officials, PowerPoint presentation, as well as the last version of the common briefing note. And the most up-to-date financial, which includes another option for a funding model. I placed all the information that was provided at the engagement session on the cloud in folder named Tri-County Regional Planning Initiative for councilors' convenience and review. I hope that any questions or comments from council members could be brought up during the committee of the whole, so they could be properly documented and referred to the consultants and the CAO steering committee for response and consideration.
Do you want that now, or, because we didn't add it under new business, so.
No,
Just,
so if there is, I said committee of the whole, but, you know, it could be council. There's nothing really gonna happen between now and our council meeting, so. People hadn't had a chance to look over the documents and get some questions.
yes, try to look it over. I had some questions as a result of sitting in on it, so. If you fellows do, then we can, and we'll add it to the agenda for council. Along discussion.
Disease elm tree removal. So the Director of Public Works has received a quote to remove 9 diseased elm trees in town. The approved budget for the tree maintenance replanting is 10,000, of which 9,000 has been already expended. The quote is a worst case scenario, as there may be some cost sharing from Nova Scotia Power for removal of some of the trees. So council approval of this expenditure is required as it is above our approved budget of 10,000. Done.
Yeah. I had a couple questions on that. One is I don't see a budget line there for replanting.
We do replant every year what I can get for trees. This year we weren't lucky to get any trees. I think we only planted 6 this year. I ordered 20, but we ended up with 6. Yeah.
You ordered, but we could buy 20 if we wanted to. Yeah, yeah,
If I can get them.
if you can get trees,
That's sometimes the issue is getting them.
getting trees.
Yeah.
That's,
Two years ago, Paul, we got a bunch from Carp, and they gave us four elm trees, plus the other ones they gave us, maple trees and different things.
but no other supplier tree, like, I'm just curious, like, I know Carp is good to
Yes,
us.
I usually go through nursery examples to get trees, so I do. I pre-order everything, and we have ordered 16 this year. Whether they show up or not, we never know. It was very hard to get stuff last year.
There is well, lots of areas of town are looking pretty bare, wide open, just concrete in the house. There is an elm tree that's resistant to the Dutch elm.
It's the American, and that's the one that we planted 4 of 2 years ago.
And because this is more than 10, do you have to go to tender, or we can just, because there are other, I've had other people get quotes for removing trees now. That were probably similar to the top one in that budget there, but, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that they received quotes from the same contractor through quotes. Small contractors, they can't do these trees. We had a small contractor do one for us, and it was just shy of $6,000 for one tree.
The big trees.
And it wasn't that big of a tree. It was disappointing, right? So, yeah, that's why I started using these guys, because they have everything we need. They got the boom trucks, they got the chippers, they pull up with 4 vehicles and 8 men, and everything's going. And if we're not that, and we don't have to help them. The other contractors, we have to help level the wood away and do all the chipping stuff for them. So,
I think it's important we do make a real conscious effort of replanting for a whole bunch of reasons, not just because the town's looking pretty bare, but
yeah,
it's great for the environment too.
and we do. Some of the ones we're cutting down, obviously we can't replant in those areas. because the trees just aren't good spots because they're on corners, blind spots. That's just something to consider too, as we replant. We try to pick parks are the best if we can.
Or encourage residents to plant trees,
Maybe that's,
not, within certain guidelines.
yeah, maybe that's something to consider too.
Yeah, I would plant more, I have planted. Anybody else got questions on it? You're looking for a motion on this? Yeah.
It just, I guess, Ed, the 9 Mount Street for $3,000 and District Mountain Road at number 28 for $4,600. Is that just because of the size of the tree, or you've got traffic control there too, or something?
They do provide traffic control, yes, for everything they do, but mainly it's because of the size of the tree. So that one on the Fish Plant Road, which is down by Allen's Fish Plant, it actually hangs over the houses. That's why it's so much more, because they gotta do rating on it. They pull it out to the road as they cut it down. I mean, you think the old one, they could just cut it and drop it, and the road closed, but stuff like that, there's so much work to do. Yes, and that's why.
I see one of the trees on Bird Street that was cut down, Sprody.
Yeah.
I said, at some point, one of those sprouts are gonna take over and we could just leave it.
If you were good at it, you could cut them off too, and every root, so.
Yeah.
You know somebody to do it properly.
Cause I get more, every time a tree is cut down, I don't know, the rest of council, but I get a lot of questions about why, I explain why.
We see them on top occasionally too.
Yeah, and then they get a hold of it, so.
There's I'll look at it for you, there's a documentary down in the US. It's a conservatory and the type of tree, it was far and above the amount of carbon it took out of the atmosphere. It was like 3 times whatever, but I can't remember the name of the tree, but I'll find out for you.
Yeah, it would hurt.
Yeah.
Look it up.
The woman was saying she was saying, stop trying to go to Mars, just plant a tree.
And maybe after the New Year's, we can look at developing some kind of policy around. We used to have a tree committee.
That's what I'm planting.
Well, at one time, we kind of combined it into this group, but maybe we could look at a policy around replanting and plus encouraging residents to replant.
Are there any nurseries in the province that sell trees?
But most of them do. It's the issue that the issue is actually was getting the trees. They just couldn't, the same as flowers, they couldn't get the flowers in them. It was, like I ordered 30 cedar in Fisherman Park, I got 6. Right. It was kind of sucked because we had done, but that's what the issue. So
Is there something that the high school greenhouse can help you?
that's the question.
See about the other star?
Yeah.
That's a possibility. Anything's a possibility. We'll look at anything for sure. So,
I'd suggest maybe after the first council kind of decide on what to hit with this. We seem to be going through another phase of losing a lot, and I just got this, listening to the CBC story, been on twice, and they're trying to save the hemlock. And there are some residents of the town, well, used to be residents, heavily involved in that, and they are drilling and putting pesticides under the approval of the project, Sporting Lake on the island. Yeah,
so these trees that are on this list, they're all too far. Basically, all
Dead,
the dignity, they're all at risk. We're gonna lose them all. I think we talked about this last year too, that we expected this over the next 3 to 5 years for them all to be gone. So this isn't new news, I guess.
no.
So,
Anybody want to put a motion, huh?
I just, in 2021-22 budget, our budget was 20 grand. And we expended all the 20 grand. This year, we dropped it to 10, because we didn't think we were gonna get that, and, so, and I think what we'll probably or should do is, add another line, is in tree removal, one line, and then the budget, and then tree replanting line as well. And then that way, we can combine budget, because it's a combined budget, and, we get you use all your money up.
It just goes one way.
Yeah, those, it's one thing, so.
And if we're gonna be paying for trees to be planted, maybe there's a cost sharing with landowners. Too.
That's possible.
Yeah.
I know, but we still,
I mean, if you look at it right now, it's the best time of year to gather up maple seeds. They've all just fallen. You can get them and put them in some dirt, put them somewhere that you can freeze and certain trees. And maple trees grow really fast, and they're very good oxygen.
that's the main for that. Because it takes so long.
Yeah.
So
Norway or sugar?
I usually the maples.
Yeah.
Very good luck. Very good luck. Tom and I had talked about it, but we do, sit and talk about carrot. They got some more funding for us for different things. So there's probably some trees in that too. So.
Anybody want to put a motion forward? We're $4,000 above our budget. Huh?
For 16,000.
Yeah, about the seven.
Having that quote, you may not. Yeah, so that was what that quote was. We already pretty much extinguished our budget for the year anyway.
Yeah, so we need that's 17, what do we? So,
Yeah.
Make that much. 17,000.
The seconder? Do you want to second that?
One man.
Peter, he's pretty quiet.
Peter's the clock.
Peter did.
Peter second.
Losing your voice, Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll support it as long as after the new year, we do have a real serious discussion on.
Recommendation.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, we can change our mind, but still, I'll say the same thing that well, Ed and I've had lots of conversations about tree planting, and that's what I get from the public, and I agree with them. Just have a serious conversation on tree planting. All those in favor of those motions? That motion? Yay, say yay or nay? Yay?
Just,
Any nays? No. Everybody, I looked at everybody, they all said,
Sandwich pasta, right, that you get. Around $200.
Those are for the ones who get cheaper ones.
they're probably, what, already $16?
The $200 ones are probably.
$16.
They seem to take better too.
Some communities do that.
Yeah. Our bench program is on,
Yeah.
And, flower spot one seems to be catching on a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, who knows?
Yeah, so let's give us something to discuss in January, or what we can have for the upcoming year. Good idea.
Just another question on the split of funds for Mount Street. I'm just the way it's written, 70% of 624,000 is the towns. Yeah, and 30% that's okay. That's what.
It's split 70-30.
Right.
That 600 is split 70-30. Yeah. Approximately.
Of the 620, not
Yeah.
624.
Okay. Motion carried, so we're moving on to Director of Public Works. I think we have him on several times tonight.
I was gonna hit highlights like I normally do. So we're working on our safety stuff pretty heavy at the shop. They're getting up to date. You see here that our SDS finders have been updated for public works and wastewater. And we also did the water commission one too, which isn't listed here. There was a car parked in the town parking lot on Prince William Street. I did contact the owner. The car has been removed. There was somebody living in the car at one time, but they weren't living in it. Had a few complaints at Victoria and Church Street, the new buildings being built there, about the driveway, and driving over the curb and the sidewalk was a mess. And of course, this time of year it's slippery, so they have arranged to have a contractor up and cut it and put the proper driveway entrance in. So Public Works, we have started our winter plowing schedule, and posted a copy of the organizational chart for all the public works employees to view.
Just in regards to the driveway, I was involved in some insurance claims with some vehicles entering the highway off of the roads and stuff. Highways issued an order to clean your tires before you go on the highway. Yep. So it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. Make them clean their tires. Cause they're leaving chunks of mud all.
They just gotta do the curb cuts over there,
Yeah.
and then they're done, but, and I understand it's hard to get people, they're from Yarmouth, everybody, so it is hard to get them here sometimes too, so. So I'm sure everybody's seen, down where the Bella Line property is, and at least they lease from us, and I think we've already did, and we've been cutting all the dead trees out of there. So made arrangements for all the property owners that we would go and cut trees, remove them, and the wood's been donated to the church to give it to them. So as we cut it, so.
I think you got some compliments from somebody.
We've had many.
Yeah, that's what I
And it looks a lot better in there, so we've got four trees left to cut it. When we get there, there's some massive trees in there. For sure. Under equipment, everything's been undercoated, all of our equipment trucks, including the fire trucks, which we started undercoating them last year. Building maintenance, the fire hall project's moving along nicely. The floor hasn't been completed, for anybody that hasn't seen it, the epoxy floor, and it does look really good in there. With the lighter paint on the walls, it really brightened it up and it looks nice in there.
Exactly, that's good. Yeah, for, so you walk off, that's good.
Yeah, I was in the other day.
We did hire a new employee for a term position, some funding we had left over from the Community Works program. He's a Ukrainian, and he's working out really well. His English isn't 100%, but they just have to talk slow, and he really understands as well. So, and he's been able to help carriers and stuff, paperwork, catching up on stuff, and he's been helping me with some stuff too. He's actually the one that redid our SDS binder, so which is he's had to use a computer, which is nice, so which is good. And the last thing, I guess, all public works employees are reviewing all town policies and procedures during the month of September.
As a refresh,
Refresh.
any questions for Director?
See the heat, so heat pumps were over there. Kevin was gonna wire them last week, but he never got there, he's gonna push this week, so they actually went in after I did my report, so.
What about the upstairs? Fire hall, eventually, if you put the heat pumps in on that upstairs wall, you get rid of those two big units.
So those are heat pumps, those two units, they're AC and heat.
Yeah, I know they are, but you can get rid of them. If you put, probably cost less to operate units along, the interior.
For some reason, I thought we looked at that when we did it, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it was cheaper to go the route we did than it was to put heat pumps in at the time, because of the size of the space.
Yeah, we did ask to see whether we could put the mini splits in, as opposed to.
Using the units.
But we had to put them on both sides, like I said.
Yeah.
At the time, you see the efficiencies now, or they're a lot more efficient today than they were when we did those 5, 6 years ago.
Well, the heat pump, I'm talking with the big air conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they are heat pumps. They used to.
Yeah, I know
They used to be just air conditioning.
Yeah.
But now it's a heat pump too. So right now, that's what they're running. They're not using oil upstairs, they're running those.
Yeah.
So.
So they updated as heat pumps or just electric heaters within the lower system?
No, they're heat pumps. Yeah, with electric backup on.
Yeah. We put them in there initially for smokers, but there's still smokers there now because of bingo and things.
So do we have to report any, again, with those people twisting of the building ring? Is that?
The bill is gone. Tom was the one dealing with that. So.
Yeah, they monitored that for the year or
Yeah.
something.
We monitor we haven't had to check the monitoring modules or whatever they're called, they're still in place, so we can monitor it at any time, but that, the length of time that we did monitor it, it was almost nil, that there was any movement. I think that, when it made that twist, whenever that happened, and after we fixed the roof at that time, I think that was, before that, that's when the damage was done.
Yeah, that building was, one of those early 70 make work projects too.
The same you mentioned, like, that's
Yeah. Oh, that was the other thing, there was at one time, they were just hanging off the
Yeah.
building. Now they've got support to the ground, so it's hold the weight.
actually still on those.
Yeah.
There's no weight on the building at all.
Yeah, that's why we put them in. I was there at the time.
Are we still waiting for some?
The siren? Yes, we are truthfully. I haven't looked into it yet. To get the new one here, start budget. So not gonna sugarcoat it. That's where it's at.
Yeah, there's a lot of communities that have got written sirens because pagers, text messaging and all that stuff.
Everything's on the phone now.
Yeah, you know, it's,
Which is nice.
some have, some still use them, some don't. It's kind of a mixture. Any other questions for it before we move on? Director of Finance.
The report is there, nothing significant to report about the statement of operations, I guess, other than the, as mentioned, the potential for cost to take down those trees. That would be still in the big scheme of things of the $5 million budget. It's not a huge swing, but of course it is a big swing on that line. The asset management plan moving along. We now, and that's where we have to be. We just have to be moving on that. So we just last week we had Mark Myers from AIM down reviewing our buildings and Public Works that showed them around to each of the structures, look at the size and structure and their age and their conditions. So we can get those documented in our plan. The cap rate, I think you're all familiar with the cap on the assessment, so that no one who's eligible for the cap can have their property go up more than a certain percentage, and that's 7.7% this year was the rate they had picked. And not sure what period ending they had used or where they got it. CPI can be from multiple sources, but fairly high. Asset retirement obligations turning into a bigger project for a lot of us than we initially thought. It's fairly technical in the reporting of the financial statements, but basically it means looking at absolutely all of our assets, our building structures, anything that may have a legal requirement to dismantle it or remediate it at the end of its useful life. So if there's a building with asbestos, we have to, by law, at the end of the life, get rid of the asbestos in the building. Standard is brand new across Canada, and a lot of us are sort of struggling as to what to include, what not to include. So we're working together, and a lot of us taking various, 4 sessions together with the Bailey Church and KPMG. He's been a useful resource, and it even has implications for the UARB and how we report our water pollution. And the UARB hasn't even contemplated what to do with it yet, so they've left some of it up to us. And has the potential to affect our water rates, but only in a small way. You book a large liability, it would have to be funded over a long period of time. For example, we have a legal obligation to decommission wells. So that's a lot of years out there. So you're discounting the value of it back a long time. And that cost would be amortized over that period. So it's going to be a very small effect, if any, on water rates if we do book it. The rest is mainly normal things. Just a reminder, our employee assistance plan does apply to counselors. You're all eligible, you and your family, to call, talk to me if you want to use the app. They've actually have an app that is very user friendly now. Kat and I both took part in the session, and the app is quite useful. And of course, a 1-800 number, you can use that. But I have all that administration as our benefits plan administrator. Feel free to contact me at any time.
Probably a lot of us have it, I have it, you probably do, not if you're on the group with Wilson, you probably have that built in.
And overdue rental payments, continual struggle, just reminding our two tenants, what is due and signing various agreements, seem to get, sometimes honored, sometimes not. Our residential unit is only 1 month behind, last time I checked. And I believe the Mount Street property, we seeing some good movement on that to get their payments going. And in fairness to them, the lease wasn't fully in place for a few months into it. It begins February 1 or March 1, I think it was. So we're waiting for those back monthly payments. And they have terminated it, so that's effective February 28th. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next week or so they just pay the whole thing, even though it's due monthly, and pay it up to February 28th. Seems to be a new person involved who's quite energetic and wants to get it all resolved. And that's my report. Is any other questions?
What's the 7.7% increase for the cap assessment program mean in terms of, I guess, taxes and
I've looked at the preliminary numbers for our taxes. The preliminary roll is out. The actual assessment roll, I believe, will be out the last week in December. Everybody will get it, and we'll get the final details of that. So really, aside from the cap, we're seeing quite an increase in residential assessment. It's over 10%. I can't remember what it was. I think, Tom, I mentioned to you, it was 12%. It was quite high. And the commercial is up, but not nearly as much. Probably barely keeping pace with inflation. That's where we're struggling. But it is good to see, well, good in the sense that it makes keeping the tax rates the same, to see the tax assessment roll up. And a fair bit of that due to construction. And I'm just going back to get different years. I want to actually compare over the past years, how much of this has been construction related? Because we all know that inflation has driven the price of properties up. Well, at least it had. Now they may be starting the other way. But be interesting to see how much of this is construction. And I think we are seeing some of this driven by construction that we haven't seen in the past, which is a good thing. We'll try to get some comparatives for us.
Oh, it was just conversation with one of the potential developments that may happen in town. Talking with them on Saturday, and that they're estimating their construction costs will move $30 million. So what the assessment value would be at the end of it would be interesting. It would be wonderful for the region.
Just a comment that I was reading is a woman in Halifax, her and her husband had bought a home in 2019 for $167,000, based on what her and her husband could afford, taxes, et cetera, et cetera. Today, a property is assessed at $500,000.
Yeah.
Where did we come up with the property tax money?
And that's the downside of all this. Great for us.
So the cap will protect them, the taxes won't go up more than inflation, but it's still a lot. It's still big.
Especially if you're a new homeowner and your house poor.
Yeah.
But is
So
that,
over those years, it would have only been 2 or 3% most of those years. This 7.7 is very odd.
they bought
So
that.
they're probably their tax is really quite large.
What year did they buy it?
2019.
19. So when's the cap get reset? cap comes off when they bought it.
When they bought it, that's the new number. So then the next year, it can only go up by probably 2.2, whatever that was. Then the next year, the 2.2, and maybe year 3, they're into our 7.7. I'm guessing years here. But yeah, so they're not paying nearly that much tax. Within the state, the worst. And then when you grab the assessment, you say, but look at your cap.
The city.
Yeah, and by the way, the cap, I encourage everybody to go look at how the cap is so dysfunctional. Look online and see who the big winners of the cap are. There's winners and there's losers. Obviously, we could get rid of the cap in Digby and lower our tax rate by, I think, 11 cents or
Something like that, that's estimated.
and that'd be revenue neutral. If you did that across the province, the people who are winning the cap, and they've done it geographically, it all shows up in red in the south end of Halifax. The winners are the rich owners. The cap is a bad.
Well, you have some homes in Digby, identical homes, one's been sold, cap comes off, the other one's cap. But the province is proved otherwise that it's beneficial to the taxpayers, and we might consider it. We've been debating with the province since it came out, 2003 or 4.
There's a couple of us accountants at A&A that just say, you can have a cap, but when you're setting your cap rate, you don't go 7.7, you set it at 8.7. If you go inflation rate plus percent or inflation rate plus 0.5%, it will eventually phase out over time, but it still protects against the spikes. But you have to get rid of it over time, or you end up with the South End residents in their $1.5 million home capped at 1.1 million.
And our elected body is hired people that said, get rid of it, but no. Anything else for the director?
You could lower the price of groceries too.
Ever done that?
Okay, we move into, next gentleman is quite special to us. Yeah, you're welcome.
So the first report is dangerous non-cycling. Just gonna let everybody know where we're at. So 144 Water Street. A letter was sent to the owner. The order of the remedy was not completed. The owner's representative has been contacted. We will be meeting in the new year to review the file. And the CAO will be involved in that too. 91 2nd Avenue. On the date of inspection, nothing had been completed. And then after talking to the owner, he told me that they're going to be demolishing the house and cleaning up the property. And I just want everybody to know, because the question's been asked everywhere, we did not give them an order to demolish this house.
Yes,
We gave them the option to board it up, clean up the property, and they chose to demolish it. Okay.
I had an email from somebody before that, why we asked, we did ask for it.
So, and it's done, the house is gone, it looks good down there, the wall's clean, so, we're happy regardless. And, number 19 Carlton Street, the CAO and I have been working on this file, and, we've been discussing the next steps. So that's everything I have for the dangerous on slightly. That's almost where we're at. Yeah. So protective services. So 143 King had 2 dogs running loose. I never got there when the dogs were loose, but I'm pretty sure that the person I talked to on 2nd Avenue, that it was their dogs, because I did catch one dog running loose a week later. So there hasn't been any dogs running loose since I had the chat with the owner. Solid waste management, gave out a few directives. 55 Sydney, 19 Warwick, 143 West, 267 Shore Road. They were all completed. The garbage bins were removed, and all new garbage bins were replaced at these locations. Number 9 Water Street, they also received a directive, and it was to be completed by December 14th. And On that date, it wasn't completed, but on the weekend, he did remove everything, so. So, that's, oh yes, the other one. Did have several complaints, did few host calls about individuals feeding wildlife. And the majority of the conversations were very pleasant conversations with the owners. And just providing a copy of the bylaw and explaining everything to them. And I think we've only had one call back, I believe, about so it's sitting down and just talking to these people, it definitely makes a huge difference. Because a lot of them just don't understand the bylaw that was made, so.
And just feeding wildlife does more harm than good, so it's just the nature of its part. Any questions for Special Constable Coleman? None? Thanks, Ed. And you're no longer needed.
Okay with that.
For the evening, I mean, not.
I feel like a curve today, so.
Same way about you, yeah. And the CDC now.
I've got two important subjects that require your attention. I'll start with the first one. So African Nova Scotian Affairs reached out, Brenda Francis, asking if we would like to host the African Heritage Month, which is coming up in February, and the proclamation event should be scheduled sometime at the end of January, beginning of February, she said end of January. So I need your feedback regarding that. If you're okay with us doing that. And if it's okay to proceed to the planning of the event.
Well, we've done it for a number of years. My response would be, yeah, we'd be happy to do it, but are they going to assist us in doing it?
Brenda said that, just like Emancipation Day, she will assist me with the planning, and the grant package will be mailed out.
Yeah, we always get the grant for it. What's it cost us in the past, $500 or something?
Yeah.
And we get a grant.
The grant is $500.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
like I said, we've been fortunate that we haven't had to rent a space or use a space outside of our organization.
Yeah.
But now we may have to look at renting and using some space. So.
Well, the proclamation day, or VIC, is for road.
In January, it's winter.
Yeah, the cheap ones turn up the day before.
Yeah, but we have to unwinterize, like we've winterized the plumbing.
Well, yeah. Our problems.
Yeah, so that might,
Or the curl. We have lots of facilities we use for.
they would let us.
Food curl. Was. Speak to the chair of dark and see if they can speak to it. And the fire hall's perfect up place anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to do this. You gotta walk upstairs, which is down.
Yeah, it's a long walk around.
Everything's accessible.
Yeah, I guess, take a motion to council to approve it. It would be strongly recommended that they assist us in this. We can have a conversation about that afterwards.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay.
Did you wanna,
Make a motion.
to take that,
Council.
and we apply for the grant?
Mhm.
And what is, I don't know, everybody been to that before? The proclamation day is just, we just have a gathering and they bring in some nice unique artifacts and there's some speeches. We read a proclamation and it lasts a couple hours.
Mhm.
That's what it is, so.
So similar to Emancipation Day.
It's very simple, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good.
Second to that motion? Second. Any further discussion on the motion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, there's Peter. Scared me there for a minute, Peter. Okay, and the other item?
Okay, so the next subject is, I had an idea to assist our bylaw officer or office by creating a sample of infographic series. You guys know what infographic is. So which would be included in our newsletter or other forms of communication with the public, such as social media, that will help our residents deal with everyday issues that are reoccurring. These include strategies on how to communicate and build good relationships with your neighbors, and or how to best prepare your case before presenting it to the town bylaw officer or the council. So, like there's a couple of case scenarios that I've already drafted which are very basic, that don't necessarily use like exactly like the bylaws or procedures, which I can email and show you. I've already presented it to our senior management team and to Leslie and Tom, and they seem to be very, very like supportive of the idea. So I'd like to get your feedback on that as well.
And that's an example, one in the back chair. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
did you, thank you, Leslie.
Yeah, we have it here, yeah. Okay, anything that we could add to our newsletter, but, yeah.
Yeah, so we thought I'd, like, put it like in print, that would be in form of, maybe we could include it with the bill, with the newsletter, or, and exactly on social media and the website. Post it.
Basically, it's sort of another communication piece to put out. And a lot of times, like if we have people that come in and have issues with their neighbors or whatever, we get information circle. You hear some tips on how you can do it, because it's not really the times, is it more of a civil issue, but at least we can give the information on how we should deal with it. It's it works out to be, it's a bylaw infraction or something like that, to deal with it. We just don't have, a lot of people will just say, I don't know what to do, right? I can't talk to my neighbor, but it's just for communications and guidance.
Yeah, and like alternatives, for example, if they're introverts and they're not really into reaching out directly to their neighbor verbally, like there's different ways of like maybe drafting a letter or preparing their case properly without like being, presentable and in forms that the count, it will be easy for us to bring to the council, etc. So like step-by-step procedures. Did you try doing this before? Did you try doing that? And this is when you should call us, and preferably with what you should have on hand when you come into the town hall to make your case more efficient, like the procedure of processing your case more.
Instead of a symptom of a larger issue, we were already going down and being in room with the silos, because we're not people who know their neighbors anymore, and now COVID happened and it's expanded it and accelerated the process.
Yeah, oh yeah, anything we can put out there on communication. I'm sure everybody in this room, I have numerous times, just last Friday, had neighbors arguing, and they both of them spoke. And that will probably always be ongoing as an elected official. But if we can help them address some of it.
That's what you get information, creative information will hear. You take that home, and read it, and see what and if if we can help you with it, that's fine. We're not gonna solve your problem if it's a fight between neighbors, right?
And
If somebody's actually doing something that's wrong against provincial statute or our bylaws, and that's, how we do. But our bylaws, of course.
well, this one was over in the lake, and one neighbor wanted to know just how he could take the light up from his house, so. I had to address that. Yeah, no, anything, so, Paul and Leslie will work on the newsletter, so yeah, have that conversation with, about how it can incorporate it.
Yep, and then the bylaws officer will have, and the
Yeah.
president will have these resources at hand, so when the people come in and, you know, a lot of people get emotional, this is something, you know, we can give them right away so they can see it and it's visual. It's not in the form of like small print where people take something, they look at it, oh my gosh, and it tires them just like, you know, just from looking at it or reading it, they don't like that. So this visual, like bam, 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 step by step, easy to understand and digest. Yes.
There's no debate on it. Well, that's important. So, yeah.
Okay, great.
Any questions for Kat? Kat put together a preliminary facade program, which is coming to the council in January. I sent it out to the members of the committee. They kind of looked at it, said, yeah, it looks good to us, so I'll send those to council. And have a discussion on that in January.
And that one's obviously a draft, so we'll
That's a
need,
draft, yeah.
we'll need to add it, put like more, you know, like information regarding the actual program in it.
Yeah.
Other than that, the guidelines are extensive as it gets compared to other.
Yeah, that'll come to this group for discussion. Because the discussion would be around, do we like the draft and are we prepared to fund it at budget time? So.
Yeah.
Any other questions? None? No? Well, then you're free to go.
Okay, well, and just to summarize other things, so.
You just said two things.
And well, that required most of you. Well, now just a couple of follow-ups regarding, what's going on with, active transportation plan. We had a staff meeting with our active transportation plan consultant on November the 17th, where Trace Planning, who's our company consultant, presented their schedule and discussed the overall plan of work. Digby Recreation staff attended the meeting as well. I shared a cloud drive with DART so they can contribute with research information from their side, which I'm really encouraging them to do. That would really help with this particular project. Trace Planning also organized first meeting with the public, primarily local cycling enthusiasts, on the evening of November the 17th. Matthew and Dan from our staff attended that at the Sydney Street Park to collect some ideas on how we can improve the existing cycling routes. On November 28th, Trace Planning made another site visit to research coastal erosion, and that was primarily with Ed, our Director of Public Works, and I contributed to the research by taking aerial footage of both sites. Trail care event is postponed till next month. It will definitely happen before January 31st. The reason why we postponed it is because the bird houses are ready, but they've got the wood cut a little bit late, so it gets started a little bit later than we wanted to. And they're working on a lot of Christmas crafts right now. They built the bird houses, but they're still painting them. So we're giving them a little bit of time, and so after the holidays, we will host the event. Waste check delivered cleaning supplies like garbage bags, gloves, etc., everything toward the cleaning part of the trail event. So we will have money to buy kids some hot chocolate and snacks. Yeah, those were the main highlights, and I attended a workshop that was from IONS, which was formerly the Community Sector Council in Nova Scotia. They were just doing a workshop on grant writing, impactful narrative it was called, and most of our local organizations were present, including Turning the Tide, Digby Recreation, Tri-County Regional School Center of Education representative, and Digby Housing Coalition, and some other people were there. So it was a good networking event for me to catch up with the nonprofit sector. And December 3rd, I attended the Nova Scotian Affairs grand opening of their new office, serving Digby and Annapolis Valley region. Our mayor was there as well. So yeah, that was a good event too. And that's pretty much all my Yeah, all the highlights.
Question I have for you is I asked you for some aerial photography of Fantastic Lake. How did the CAO get his in there before I did? Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think one time that's late, and I did take care. Actually, yes, I did. I went when it was, when my son was here.
We'll have a look at this. I have some ideas of how we like to have it presented, so. Yeah.
The only thing is there weren't too many colors.
No, not this time.
Yeah, this year it wasn't very colorful this year. I found that the town of Digby was more colorful with the
Yeah.
trees, but I do have aerials and I did do different angles.
It'll be something that we could do in the spring as things are great. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, good. Any questions for Kat? None? You're free to go home, Kat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And happy holidays to everyone. Thank you for the
Yeah.
card.
That is happening, yeah. Okay, moving on. Western Red. Get the letter there, they're just, reminding people, that sit on the LLC committee to make sure they attend the meetings. I'm always there. But we haven't had a quorum for the last couple. Yeah, so there's some communities that haven't been sending their reps or they haven't been available. It might be various reasons, but we're just being told, is make sure you get there.
You know, the actual request though, but changing the intermunicipal agreement
Agreement too, yeah.
on the form number, which
Yeah.
will be easier. So that each council has to, or make that, we're all signatories to the agreement, so we have to do that agreement, so.
Because right now it's 75%.
Do we have to send it? Do that.
Like a motion to take it to the council.
So, yeah, we send it.
Council for discussion.
Second.
Second that. All those in favor of that, say aye. Any nays? None. Yeah. And Digby Area Tourism. Their letter that came to me, it's funny how you mention things over the year and then suddenly it comes up and I had spoken to someone outside and said, yeah, well, we've got discussions on our building on Shore Road. Nothing's been confirmed yet. Now, if something does happen there, yeah, then we have this building that may be open for discussion. We'll just keep, like I said, we'll just keep them appraised as the letter says.
They had heard the rumor and I said, well, it's been discussed, but nothing's been finalized and will be also what our budget is to renovate the building.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
it sort of always made sense to me that if Dad is gonna have an office, that might make a nice office for him. But there's some costs involved too, from my
Yeah.
perspective.
so.
So anyway, yeah, we'll just keep them appraised as we discuss it here. Whoever the rep will be, I can send that list out this week, let them know, so.
Do they continue to meet year round?
Yes, they do. They have monthly meetings, yeah.
So heated in that building?
Yeah, there's heat pumps in it, isn't it? Yeah. And then that building's kind of, I don't know if it's insulated.
It's probably not insulated.
Yeah.
Because we never used it for.
It's just on stilts too, it's not.
Yeah, it's all.
Yeah, so lots to discuss, but.
Well, they don't use their office there anymore than they use the space that we give them downstairs. So that's what the water, and that's where they put heat.
Yeah, no, they have monthly meetings at various spots around town, like the West Trade does right now.
What space do they have here? What do they have here?
They have down in both ends, or just around the corner, the desk and materials and stuff that all belongs to them, but they haven't
Just their student once in a while there.
Yeah, and that is very, very rare. Right, so.
Yep. Okay, well, we'll keep them abreast. Nothing else on that. Healthy eating policy. We're gonna, staff told me they want to, strengthen that so that we follow that here at meetings, we follow it at home, we follow it while we're traveling. Isn't that what I heard?
I don't think so.
Oh,
The problem with this policy is it's way too robust. Way more than we can try to, I mean, police and try to do. I started to do some research on some of the other units that do have not, a lot of units seem to have a healthy eating policy, or I haven't been able to find them yet. But, we can, I mean, basically, it's policy should be that when we have functions that we can always make sure we get healthy
actually,
choices.
that's the plan I just got. So I'll pass that on to CAO. Now I have two.
So, I mean, that's the thing, when we have things like the levy and stuff like that, and we have, your normal food, call it normal, and you'll have your healthy food, so those that attend, they have a choice, right? We can trim this down, but we wanted to, we discussed it at the senior management team, and basically I discussed it with the executive committee as well, and so put it on the agenda to find out what council feels about amending this policy and make it a little more reasonable, be able to.
Well, we don't follow it. Like, I'm just being, we don't.
We're not, there's no way we can follow it to the letter of that policy. It's just. Right, no, well, but the thing is that, we can still have a healthy eating policy and ensure that we've got healthy choices and,
Yeah, so maybe it's something that's a little more streamlined and just
Yeah.
easy to understand and use. I mean, there's a section on municipal grants and environmental sustainability. Really gets out of the scope of what,
Yeah.
healthy eating is. Like to point out the mayor also just ate chocolate.
Year one, year two.
Well, we can do it, but
But, well, the environmental sustainability, people look at us as leaders, so it means that we have our food delivered in brown paper bags instead of plastic bags, is what they mean.
Yeah.
Yes,
yes,
is what they mean, yeah.
That's manageable, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you look at it and see if you come up with something.
But if you look at what they're doing at the canteen at the rink at any day.
Well, Dark has such
it's
policy.
been there.
yeah, and I mean, that's where this policy originated from, is the active living coordinator.
Yeah.
And,
Well, yeah.
they pushed and pushed, so Dark adopted this same policy, municipality adopted it. And we adopted it, but it's obviously not being followed at the rink.
I miss bag fries.
Yes,
They were doing.
yeah, forgot about those at the old rink. Yeah, so come up with some idea and bring it back to us.
So I just wanted to, we'll just doing some work on the amendments, if that's.
There's lots of ways to prepare cauliflower.
But you're right, as long as there's an option there. That offers it.
Yeah,
Well, it kind of, it sort of went awry in the school system too. It was all good intentions, but what it ended up translating to is you couldn't even sell homemade cookie.
Yeah.
Right, it was too much sugar in it.
yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that's good for you, they don't sell and ends up in the garbage.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. That's true.
We're a community that loves our fried food.
Well, like eating fruit, is meaning all sugars.
Fruit juice, orange juice and apple juice are on the bad list now.
Grapes.
On the can of food, and yeah, full of sugar. Well, see what you can draft. Yeah. Anytime. Okay, moving on then to the marketing level. We're getting closer and closer to making this happen. Tom, this is, this terms of reference very similar to what your own is. Yeah.
Terms of reference are exactly what is in our bylaw and also what's in the thing. So basically, all that this is council is adopting this committee as a standing committee that is under this term of reference. So basically, it's just one of the things that we hadn't done yet.
Gotcha.
And then that opens the door for us to, in January, start doing the advertising for citizen members and getting the committee appointed. Municipalities gotta do the same thing. And,
When we first started talking about this, I had some questions about their mayor and ward or designate, it can be a designate, sitting on this committee, because I thought it as purely non-political, but we do have some responsibility to them, because we're collecting the money, even though it's not ours, we're gonna flow through us. We still have a responsibility to see what's happening, so we can report back to council.
And where the money's being spent. Somewhat to like,
Somewhat,
properly, like if they're being applied for.
well, the committee does that.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you see, the mayor and warden doesn't have a vote, they're just sitting there as ex officio.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave it up to the industry to decide where the best use is for that money, so. That's the only questions I have.
Are they all in the loop? Are we gonna hear something at some point again that I didn't hear, I didn't?
Quite sure, Pierre, we know we had this conversation. And they've seen the bylaw, and it's gone to them a number of times, they've seen the terms of reference, various people, so
I mean, as far as the 11 that we sent out to, I had a couple of phone calls and all been positive. I haven't had a negative phone call from one cat that just had some questions. I wanted to know, and I said, we're not trying to complicate things. We want this as easy for you to collect and remit to us as it is for us to collect it from you. You don't want a lot of complications. Because there were questions like, well, can we e-transfer the money to you every week? Or do we have to physically have to come in and give you the money, right? And things like that. And I said, you can work it. All that stuff. All that stuff is optional. And one said, well, can you got a form here, I gotta fill that out in my hand, can I remanufacture that on a spreadsheet or whatever? I said, yeah, fill your boots. So well, I might not have your logo on it. I said, we don't really care whether the logo is there. We need the information, right? And so, I think that once we get started and people will know that we're not just saying, no, you gotta do it this way and it's our way or the highway, that we just want to collect the money so that we can pass the money on to whoever needs the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
They think there's still a few that thinks January 1 is a big checkup. It's gonna take a while to build the kitty up. And I have bigger concern what the province is going to do when they step in and put their marketing bylaw. How complicated, how much of a challenge that may be.
Well, actually,
I know they're looking at,
Actually, the marketing levy portion amendment in the NPA has already been approved.
Yeah.
It's already been approved. So basically what that means for us is, I was asked that question as well. And, we're still gonna collect the $2. We have 1 year to come in compliance with the new legislation, right? So I wanna get this 1 year, and then by the time the anniversary comes up, and we will have time to decide on what percentage, because it's a maximum from 0 to, what is it, 3% or something?
1 to 3%.
yeah.
So. Yeah.
So does the committee decide how many times you have given the money out? Like, it starts in January, will there be some money available like in August next year, do winter projects next year? Or how? That'll be
I guess
determined.
basically, I mean, I think the membership. Yeah, must hold a meeting 4 times per year, so they gotta meet 4 times a year.
But I mean, with the first year, no money. like,
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
Right.
if they come with a project that's $10,000, and there's no money, there's no money. Yeah, so,
I just thought maybe there was a minimum date or an early date that will say, the committee will say, we're gonna give out, 80%.
I mean,
of the money at a
they
time.
may be able to, the committee may be able to pre-approve. Right, so we're not gonna, I don't anticipate the town or the district saying, yeah, well, okay, well, here's your money, and we haven't collected it yet.
Yeah.
I don't think that we're gonna be the bank for this.
No, you can't.
We're gonna collect it, there's the piggy bank, and you take from that piggy bank.
well, we don't have a say,
No,
the committee has.
Yeah,
Whether or not they sit down in the first meeting and say, we're gonna save every cent from 1 year, then do something big. Or we're gonna do 4 projects, or it's up to them, right?
Yeah, it could be support one project, they support a lot, and I talked to this chap in Yasta, they're supported by their room money. That's why Yasta has staff and the chair, but there is a little, sometimes there's the odd project comes forward from something else, they look at those too. Yep. And it's not infrastructure.
Yeah.
Read it.
Yeah.
It's marketing.
Right. Yeah.
So if someone comes looking, it's all about marketing the region. So if someone comes with a project and wants to build something, unless it's a marketing kiosk. Yeah.
area.
Can't read it. Anyway, any other questions on that? We need a motion to take this to council.
So maybe.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion on the motion? None? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we're getting closer to that after a long, long process.
Yeah.
The last thing I put on the agenda was doctors and our community navigator. She'll be coming in January. She's just working her way up. Got her office set up at home, cell phones. And others have been involved in recruitment in the last few years, have been meeting with her, telling her what we've seen with challenges around housing, community partners, challenges within the healthcare system, challenges with finding reasonable space to rent, that kind of stuff. But last Monday, I did take 2 doctors and her. She wanted to see what I do on a tour. She learned a lot of things about the Digby she said she didn't know. Those 2 doctors are going through the Ready Assessment Program, but they want to come to Digby. So that would be later, late winter, spring when we've done that, but they want to come to Digby. We showed them some housing. We do have one house that's available. It's being renovated right now. Both of the guys here, friendly, very outgoing, very friendly people. After about 3 hours, I understood what they were saying. The doctor that was committed to coming in November had some personal health challenges within the family, just delayed a couple months, but still coming. And the other thing, the mobile clinic was here. The people that used it loved it, but they weren't overly busy. So one of the people within the clinic, I met with them a week ago, Saturday night. There was 6 of them here. I met with them, and they want to meet with some of us and talk about marketing that clinic, because they don't feel that the marketing coming from the health organizations is strong enough to get out to everybody.
First go around was better than the second. When they
Yeah.
came back, no one knew they were here.
No one knew, so they want to meet with the community about marketing this.
Then do they have a set schedule? When did they meet?
There'll be, not yet, no.
Yeah, because
It
in
is-
their newsletter, it's
Yeah.
right in the house, right?
Yeah. And it's a temporary service.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah, it is temporary.
They keep telling, and I mentioned that to them, make sure you aware people, this is
Yeah.
temporary, because if people, if it just comes and suddenly it disappears, and that's gonna lead to some more. But the people that used it said it was great, went in, got what they needed, got follow-ups with MRIs, X-rays, you know who they have to see when they get everything.
It was nice and second.
Yes, yeah. So anyway, they're gonna come back, and they wanna meet with us or someone, let's talk about America.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I know that at the meeting we went to a couple weeks ago, they had it in Weymouth. It was great.
Well, I met with 6 of them, so there were 2 doctors. One doctor I knew that had been coming here for a while, the other doctor, very high profile doctor in the province, Dr. John Ross. There was nurses that could prescribe, RNs that had prescription. So a lot of people, when they got their prescriptions filled and things like that, and there were some other people, so it was a full clinic. So, great. Anyway.
At the health meeting, it was nice for them to recognize that.
Yeah.
They're impressed with how specifically the issues that were in.
Yeah, just, every time I think we're getting a little closer to solving it, something happens, but. So right now we have 3 doctors. Now, the challenge with the 2 that are going through the ready assessment program need mentorship. In other words, they're new to the country, so Nancy, our community navigator, is working on trying to find a doctor that will mentor them. And it has to be a doctor, I think, within an hour's radius. So that's
When there's a shortage.
when there's a shortage of doctors. Now, one here has said no, and I understand why. Another one that's here, regularly said no, but they're having conversations with that person to see. But they can't practice until we have a mentor. Other than that, they said, no, Digby is a place they want to be, so that's great. That's all I have, and Nancy will be here sometime in January. Okay, that's the last thing on the agenda. Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Second. All those.
Okay.